All right, welcome to another episode of Rooting for Laundry. I am your host, Johnny McDonald. You can follow us at Root for Laundry on IG and Twitter, as it says there on the ticker. Like, share, subscribe to videos. We got 32 episodes in the archives on the YouTubes and the Facebooks. So if you could give us a listen, go ahead. And if you already do, thank you. Thank you very much. Today we'll be covering the world champs of baseball, the Los Angeles Dodgers, in this COVID season. And we got two good guests, buddies of mine I did comedy with for a while. So let's bring them in. First guest, you can see him on TMZ, The Young and the Restless, just won an award for a movie. He is the man, Brian McDaniel.
Yo,
what's up, bro?
Buddy? How are you, buddy? How's it going?
I'm good, man. Congrats on everything. Yo, LA is winning everything, so that's dope.
It is good. It is good, man. I'm ready to get into it. I feel like you're already starting sort of a confrontational situation by calling it COVID season. I mean, you're
I know. All right, let me bring up the next guest. Another comedian. He performs now in New York. He's in New York now, but he performs all over, and you probably seen him beat up somebody on the Staten Island ferry. Give it up for Brian Kim.
Yo, what's up?
How you doing, bro?
Johnny, I love how my credit is. Yeah, but I guess he's just in New York now. You know, that's my only credit. Yeah, he just is here.
But you're on your way, Brian. You're on your way. So, so. Both you guys are big LA Dodgers fans. I know, Brian, your Kim is from LA, born and raised, right?
Yeah. You can call me BK.
BK is born and raised. So I'll start with B-Mac. I'll call you that. How did you become a Dodger fan?
Well, I was born just outside of LA, and I grew up in Maryland, but I always still rooted for the Dodgers. And when I was growing up, there was no internet. And the Dodger scores came out too late to be printed in the newspapers. So I had to call every morning during the summer. I would call the George Michael Sports Machine.
Oh, I remember.
And listen to box scores over the phone.
Wow.
That's how devoted to the Dodgers I was, even growing up in Maryland, because I was there from 5 until like 17, and I stuck with the Dodgers always. I mean, the Hornets were chill or whatever, but it was always the Dodgers number one.
Dope. So you remember the World Series from '88 with Kirk Gibson and
I do. I was upstairs. My parents had told me to go to sleep, but I was listening on the radio. And when it happened, my dad went so crazy that I was like, I'm gonna come downstairs because I want to jump around. I want to get in on the segment. Yeah.
Yeah. So BK, do you remember, like, I know you're a little bit younger, so you remember what's your first memories of being a Dodger fan?
Yeah, so for me, I was actually born in Korea, right? So I was born in '86. So when I came to, I came to US in '89, like 89, right? So this was like in LA, it's like fucking Dodger fever, right?
Yeah.
And I went to my first Dodger game when I was in first grade with my church, with my Korean church. And the reason why was to see Chan-ho Park pitch for the
big deal, yeah.
Because this was a huge deal because he was the first like Korean American or Korean pitcher from Korea, you know, to make it in the major leagues, you know. So they had like Nomo, who was like the Japanese, who was rookie of the year, and then now we had the first Korean. So in LA has a very big Korean community.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so like everyone from our church went to go watch this guy, and we didn't really know about I didn't really know about baseball. So I remember we went to that game, but this was like such a while ago. I remember when the Dodgers games, they were like $5 for the cheapest tickets, you know, and they would give like all these like promotional stuff, you know. So I remember like my dad and I and our family would like to go to watch Chan-ho Park, but my mom, we had to make sure it wasn't on a promotional day, or else she wouldn't let us go.
So if you weren't bringing back like a bobblehead or a blanket or anything, you couldn't go.
Like a good one, like a towel. You know, because they give it to everybody. So we have like 4 towels, you know. All of my school supply was like Dodgers, you know. on one side is Dodgers, but on the other side is fucking Geico. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember
America, Bank of the West.
Yeah. Farmer John, you know.
Yep.
But then I remember one time, like I got a cap from the game, right? And one kid, he was like this Mexican kid named Jorge, who was also a Dodgers fan, and he was like, your hat is fake. And I was like, motherfucker, I got this from the stadium. I got it from the source. What do you think is fake?
Yeah, the snapback, right? Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of promotional stuff too with the Mets stuff.
Oh, hell yeah. We're a Korean family, you know. So and everyone would get one, you know. All of us would get one.
Wow. So yeah, that's dope. So the Dodgers have been like a relatively good franchise. I mean, throughout they rarely have a few losing seasons every year. Like they were all in the Rookie of the Year. You had so many Rookie of the Years: Mike Piazza, Todd Hollandsworth. I could run on and on about between like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and until now. B-Mac, I'll start with you first. You remember like just the dominance of like that Rookie of the Year, like when you get these young guys and.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, that run with Karros and Hollandsworth and Mondesi,
Piazza,
Piazza, right? Piazza was the guy, and I remember my favorite memory from that era was there was a game against the Giants on the last day of the season, and the Dodgers were out of it. They had been knocked out of contention, but the Giants had to win, and they would get in. But then if they lost, they were out. And the Dodgers, it was at Dodger Stadiums, and the Dodgers just waxed that ass. I mean, it was like 11-2, and they just crushed him. Piazza hit like a triple off the wall. They just destroyed them. It was such an awesome game.
Yeah.
And I remember, this could go in a lot of different ways. I remember also that the ownership trading Piazza. Right. Hey, what's up? That's my cousin. Yeah. I remember the ownership trading Piazza because of like a contract, and that was just a series of like owners who knew they could just keep like a slightly above average team and make a lot of money.
Yep.
For a long time. So that was Fox. And then the McCourts owned it for a while. And it was, you're a Mets fan, so you understand.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so much that it was bad ownership. It was like I'm going to just get by kind of ownership.
Yeah, because, I mean, they drew well. I mean, they always draw, top 3? And they're like, in attendance. So it's a great.
It's massive, so they can make a ton of money. They get, 45,000 people there every night all summer. It's a ton of money. Yeah.
Yeah. BK, who was your favorite player during those early 90 years or coming up?
So those were like the golden age for me, right? Because that was when we were going to all the games, Todd Hollandsworth, Eric Karros, Mondesi. I remember those were the golden age. For me, I was a big Gary Sheffield fan. So when Dodgers got him, and then but the thing is the Dodgers, they love to pay a lot of but there was a time when the Dodgers were just known for spending a shitload of money, giving up big ass contracts, and then people always getting injured, right?
Yeah.
Darren Dreifort, you know what I mean? Kevin Brown, there was all these big money stars, and then Dodgers were very disappointing. It was hard to be a Dodger fan because of a lot of those kind of money issues, and also the ownership stuff. The McCourts are fucking from Massachusetts or some shit. And even now, the McCourts, the ghost of the parking lot, it still kind of remains to this day, right? But I think when the ownership shifted is when there was hope, right? It's okay. I think so. And then they started making these moves. Dodgers always had money and they weren't afraid to spend it. But I think things just started to kind of work out. And it was every year after year, we're making, first in the National League West. You know what I mean? It was happy to be a Dodger fan. And then of course, whenever you guys want to kind of get into the playoffs thing, man, these past few years, it was tough.
Yeah, it's been close. You guys been in the playoffs, going deep in the playoffs 7 years.
To watch
Yeah.
But also so heartbreaking to us.
I mean, I want to, before we get to the glory, I want to jump off on one thing you said there.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
When the ownership changed, I feel like that Adrian Gonzalez trade right after the ownership change was really the marker that they knew what they were doing. And it wasn't so much that Adrian Gonzalez was going to be amazing for them, but it was just that, like, they had learned the lessons of Moneyball and were able to apply them in reverse, right? Like, all these other teams were doing everything they could to maximize how little money they could spend and squeeze out of players. And the Dodgers were in a very market, and they figured out how to maximize. They had money, and it doesn't necessarily mean spending on a giant contract, but it means if we can get these other assets in because we are able to waste money, that is a very efficient use of money. And we never saw that kind of smart thinking before the new ownership took over. And that was like, I was like, oh, things are going to change. Things are going to go in a really good direction.
Yep. So I'll jump fast forward to like the Joe Torre era, 2008, 2009. They go to back-to-back National League Championship Series against the Phillies, and very come up short. I mean, that team, that's like a young Kershaw, Chad Billingsley, and then you had Russell Martin, Matt Kemp, and Andre Ethier, who were like, like the building blocks. They were kind of looking like those young Yankees a bit, like with the, the core four with the Jeters and the Moes and the, those guys. Talk about, I guess, those teams like being probably, I mean, for fans, it probably frustrated you guys. I'll start with BK. Like, did it frustrate you, like, for them to go, like, get there and then, like, just not perform to get to the World Series at the time during the Joe Torre era?
Yeah, well, during that era, I remember, like, there was always, you always want them to do well, but I don't think they were, like, quite ready. I think they were, like, kind of inconsistent, And then, like, especially, like, with the hitting. And I think the Phillies was just a better team that year. They were
stacked up. Howard and Jimmy Rollins was great, and that was a great team. Those Phillies team,
and they're pitching too.
Yeah,
Jimmy Rollins was the backbreaker. I mean, Jimmy Rollins, the Dodgers were up in that game 5, or game 5 or 6, and they were about to get back in that series, and Jimmy Rollins had that base hit, which they scored 2, and then that series was over. But I mean, the Manny Ramirez part of that,
got him low late in the season. Yep,
was amazing. And I went to Kershaw's very first game. I had season tickets.
Nice.
That year, and I tried to run it so StubHub was also pretty new at the time.
Yeah,
I was trying to run like a StubHub hustle. And, and so I bought 4 season tickets, and I would sell groups of 3 because if you look at StubHub, there's always groups of 2 or groups of 4.
Yeah, it's hard because you got to get the even tickets because nobody wants to go by themselves.
Nobody wants to go by themselves.
Yeah, except for I've been to a bunch of stuff by myself. It's okay.
I will also go.
Just me.
I will totally go by myself. But in terms from a sales perspective, when you're selling something that's not available in this market that has like all these tickets available, I was able to sell packets of 3 all the time, and then I would just go and sit next to these people.
Who are you?
They were sitting in my seats, or also I would just sell all 4 on nights when Brian Kim and his family wanted to go and get the giveaway nights. You could always sell for a premium by that point. So, I tried to make my money back on those.
Nice.
So that was my strategy. But then I remember, Kershaw's first game as a Dodger, Ramirez's first game as a Dodger. I was like, I'm going to those games.
Yeah. Kershaw is now like one of the best ever now. It's just
but the thing is, Kershaw was always known to, like in the regular season, be an ace, be a star. But I think
in the post,
until just recently is when, even with the champion, I think if the Dodgers don't win the championship, that kind of label with like, okay, yeah, he was good in the regular season, but when the pressure is on, he was never able to deliver. So this one was actually more redemption. I think Kershaw meant to him a little bit more, because now he can kind of shed that. Now,
absolutely, champion. Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to fast forward to the. Yeah, go ahead.
That was the moment when. So I've been following this team all my life. I'm 40 or whatever. I haven't then won a championship since I was a kid, and they win the championship. And I was so happy or whatever. But then the moment when you see Dave Roberts say to Kershaw, "You deserve this," that was the moment where I was like,
he
no, but
definitely
also
did.
like Kershaw also, but Kenley Jensen was receiving so much hate, right? He was receiving so much hate.
Yeah.
And he would continue. I think he would still he was receiving like death threats and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna get to the 2020 second, but I'm gonna review the last 7 years. I'll start because the last 7 years have been like a great team, but once they get to the playoffs, something happens. So 2013, now Don Mattingly's the manager, and they go to the NLCS and they lose to the Cardinals in 6. That was a tough pill to swallow for you guys, right? B-Mac.
Yeah, I mean that was really the beginning of the Kershaw narrative, right? So they were in that series. There was a game. I think it was early in the series where Kershaw had this at bat against Matt Carpenter, where Matt Carpenter fouled off like 45 pitches. It wasn't that many, but it was just insane, and you just saw it. You saw the transformation of this dominant pitcher just run into a wall. Kept giving up a bunch of runs in that inning, and they weren't able to overcome it. And I remember being real bummed out and kind of a shitty husband like a couple days.
Don't talk to me. That's why.
The thing that I remember was that the Dodgers going down 2 games, and then it was Hyunjin Ryu to pitch that 3rd game, and I was always a big I'm always a big fan, especially like if he's a Korean especially the pitcher,
Right.
and he delivered like a shutout game that day, and there was like a glimmer of hope, and then I remember feeling like, oh, there's hope, and feeling like really proud of Ryu. And I wish he was part of the championship team, but he left, and it's Toronto, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but so the following year, 2013, Kershaw has probably the greatest year a pitcher could have. He wins his 3rd Cy Young and an MVP, which is for a pitcher that's insane. So you're the best of the best if you do that. But they lose in the Divisional Series to the Cardinals again. This is 2014, 3-1. So talk about B-Mac. I asked you talk about Kershaw's year of dominance, and then another disappointing postseason.
Yeah,
to the Cardinals again. Now you hate the Cardinals.
I definitely hated the Cardinals a lot. It was a little bit. I did get to see in person the game when the Dodgers beat the Cardinals in the Divisional Series. This was years before because Holiday let the ball run underneath his glove.
Yeah.
And he blamed it on people waving the rally towels.
So.
We had one great moment against the Cardinals, but boy, did we end up paying for it years later. Like, they just had all the karma against us, and they beat us back and forth, and it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But if we're going to talk about this Kershaw being the most dominant pitcher era, we need to talk about the Cy Young that your team stole from Clayton Kershaw.
Who? Dickey. R.A. Dickey. Yeah.
Yes. That's a crime. He
had a great story. He was molested as a kid. He had a great story. It motivated him, so they gave it to him.
Exactly. The narrative Cy Young, who did not deserve it. Kershaw should have another one. Should be in his trophy case.
That was the only story the Mets we had. That's the only story we had. So, BK, talk about
bias. He's so biased.
BK, talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
I just remember, if I'm not mistaken, is that the year, that Cardinals year with fucking David Freese just going absolutely nuts?
That seemed like David Freese every year he went nuts in the postseason.
Yeah, in the postseason, it seems like it. It's almost kind of, and then so because he's part of like Dodger, history too. You know what I mean? Like So I just remember him just going nuts for the Cardinals and fucking me just hating that guy. Just absolutely
there's always
hating him.
Yeah, you hate
But
those
he's a great
scrappy
baseball
players. You
player,
don't,
man.
yeah, you don't hate the good guys. You hate the scrappy players that show up
Oh
that
man,
time.
and
They're just the worst type of players, and
that'll
you
stay
still.
in the at bats. Grind it out.
Hmm.
Wear out your pitchers. And then get a blooper single.
Yep.
Like
Yeah, those guys you hate. So
John
fast forward to the following year, 2015. That's you lose the division round to the Mets in a 5-game. And you had to stack, Greinke and Kershaw and Greinke, just a stack, pitching staff, and then lose to the Mets in 5. Talk about that. I was happy, and unfortunately, we didn't win the World Series, so I'm still suffering. But talk about, I guess, though, because that was a back and forth series.
Yeah.
BMAC, I'll start with you.
Was that the series where Chase Utley destroyed?
Yeah, he's just Rivera. Yep. Yeah. Ruben Tejada. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, it was him. Yeah, he destroyed him.
Like that guy.
Yeah, we hated Chase Utley forever.
Like you couldn't hate him enough as a Phillies legend. Like he just
Yeah.
I remember. So I was at that game. I was at the Chase Utley game, and I mean, it was like almost a riot when they threw him out of the game because I mean, it was a rough play, but like to throw someone out of the game with the rules as they stood at that time, it wasn't right. It wasn't right, and they changed the rule, which was the right thing to do. They should have changed.
Yeah.
The rules allowed for that at that point.
Especially in the postseason where it affects every game, every pitch is important.
Yeah. So that was very disappointing. So I was at that game, but I was traveling. I was doing a show in Chicago during the game when they lost the series. And I remember there was a play where like the Mets stole second and the Dodgers had the shift on. And so then the guy stole second all the way to third because there was nobody at third base. He just like walked to third base. Turner was out, off playing on the infield because of the shift. And that it was just like the Mets hadn't won yet, but that was just such a demoralizing moment that it was just it gave. I mean, there's this huge undercurrent in Los Angeles fandom of people who hate analytics. I think in all of baseball, I think there's a lot of fans who are like, I miss how it was when I was a kid, right? Like you just, and if you hit the ball second, you were out. But if you, hit the hole, you were safe. And all the relievers and all the chain, like it's just so
it's a lot. Yeah, pitchers don't go like even 7 anymore. That's if you're pitching in 7, that's a long time. You know what I'm saying? Right. And then you have the shift. This shift is crazy. Like everybody just moves to the right, and then it more. 9 times out of 10, it usually is the right call. BK, you like remember in that Mets series, how did you feel? And the rules like that, BMAC just.
Well, the thing that you mentioned with the shift, I completely agree with that. That kind of old rugged baseball. Like I remember watching this video where Mike Mussina, he lets out a single, and then you see Joe Torre coming out, and fucking Mussina is like, Get your ass back in there, Joe. He yells that back to me. He's like, okay. And I know I kind of always bring it back to, this 2021, but I think Dave Roberts went more with his feel, and I think
he was a gut guy. Yeah.
He was more gut guy. But I think even in the previous, just a few years ago, he was like analytical guy. And I think he made one too many moves, But this one, I think he learned from his mistakes, and he went with his gut, and it paid off.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I disagree with this. I feel like that moment when the Mets took third was like a moment that really stands out in Dodger fans' minds as like analytics doesn't work and you shouldn't do the shift and like all the downsides of the analytics. But I really do think that the analytics are the key to the Dodgers' success. And I also think that what everyone claims is like the reason why Tampa Bay lost the series, right? Okay, what's the reason Tampa Bay lost the series? Why?
Oh, because what's the name? Cash brung in the. Right. Made the bullpen change or whatever.
Right.
He did
out of the game, right?
Yeah.
What's his name? Ian or whatever. He was killing. But the truth is, Tampa Bay never makes the World Series if they aren't constantly pulling their starter super, super early. They don't get past the Yankees, right? They never would. And so they did it with a formula, and they were like, this is it. We follow this formula. We take our guy out in the third time through the lineup. If there's any sign of weakness, he's out. It doesn't matter. There's no like sentimentality about it whatsoever. But Tampa Bay's like, they're not even that great of a team. They're just very well coached, and I think they use the analytics extremely well. So it makes it less fun on a level because you feel like you couldn't do it.
Like, no, but also I think you have to understand, like, the analytics get you only so far, right? It only gets you so far. But I think that is the beauty of baseball, where like sometimes you trust your starter to stay in there, you know?
Yeah. Well, that 2015, it didn't work for Matt Harvey. Terry Collins came out, and then Matt Harvey's like, I'm staying in. I was at that game, and it was like, yeah, everybody's like, I'm staying in. It was like a movie, and we go, yeah, he's staying in. and then Daniel Murphy just like he was the best hitter, but just the worst fielder. And then like, yeah, so and that's like that. I'm like going on my own self tangent with that 2015 Met team against the Royals was like those scrappy guys. Royals did not have a star that year, just nothing but scrappy, annoying guys who they made contact. Fast, quick, and we hated them all, and that won them the World Series that year. And it was depressing, but but I know that 2015, after like the Mets beat the Dodgers, Mattingly gets fired, and you're like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Now it's just then he gets replaced by Dave Roberts. BK, I'll start with you. How did you feel when Donnie Baseball got fired? He was like, oh, it's time after 5 years, 5 seasons.
I was I liked Don Mattingly, but I liked Dave Roberts more.
Yeah.
I like Dave Roberts. Whenever I think of Dave Roberts, you always think about that steal for Boston, and he's
as a player, and
he has that new kind of, and I think he's like a player's coach, right? Mm-hmm. Where all you hear is just good things about him from his players, and I think he sets the tone for just kind of like that kind of cruise, like let's have fun. And I think he was just like a perfect fit for the team, and I think it's what the team needed. And he got a lot of flack, when he lost in the crucial moments, right? But when he first came to the team, I think there was also kind of like a newfound hope. It's like, okay, we have someone with kind of playoff background. He's kind of been there. He seems like I felt good about it.
Yeah, B-Back, talk about, I guess, Donnie Baseball's firing. Were you?
So Donnie Baseball is an extension of the Joe Torre era.
It's a Yankee family tree. Yeah, absolutely.
And Torre brought Mattingly with him and groomed him for that whole transition. And I never liked Don Mattingly that much. First of all, always looked like he'd just taken a sip of the worst tasting coffee ever. He's in need of caffeine, and he just got something terrible. It just all the time. Like, dude, you're not in New York anymore. You're not in or wherever you grew up, and it's freezing in the winter. On Earth, you have a great team.
Mm-hmm.
These guys don't need you just like spitting chiclets out of your mouth.
Yeah. He looked like he still chewed tobacco.
Miserable the whole time. And so I was never sad that he left. And my Yankees fans buddies are like, you gave up on that. You're just remembered because he was the only good player for 10 years of your team. Like, you just liked him. Not because he's a good manager.
That's true.
I wasn't sad about that transition at all.
Okay.
I like Dave Roberts a lot. Here's the thing. Torre was fantastic at managing personalities, right?
Yes. Yeah. He didn't have to do much, even though those Yankee squads. He always had a stacked team, so he didn't really have to do much.
Yeah, he didn't have to do much. He just had to keep guys from hating each other, right?
Yeah.
And Ricky Little couldn't do that, but Torre could. And I don't know how well Mattingly really did at that, honestly.
You can't give up like a proper assessment with,
Yeah, and I think that Dave Roberts really does do a good job of that. And they've got a really tricky situation of doing that they've maintained since he was brought on, which has been imposed upon him by the management from above, which is you have all these different players at all these different, price levels. So you got guys who are making no money who are contributing in a huge way, and you have to keep their ego under control against guys who are making bazillions of dollars, playing time, pulling pitchers, all of that kind of thing. And it's not even so much that he is able to do that the way that he should, but he is able to do that and give everybody a reason that they can go to sleep with.
Yeah.
And also I think people liked it because it also kind of fit the narrative. Like, okay, we're reclaiming back LA, right? It's like, okay, it's going to be new ownership, and then there's going to be a new manager who was also a former Dodger, who also won a championship. So it's like it kind of all fit with like this is headed in the right direction,
Yeah. So
and Dave Roberts as a player kind of fits in the lineage of Brett Butler as a player for the Dodgers also.
Yeah,
I remember Brett Butler. Yeah, another guy.
That guy, that character in the
scrappy,
Yep. Makes sense. So 2016, I mean, they have a great year. Dave Roberts' first year wins Manager of the Year. Then you have Seager, who wins Rookie of the Year, another Dodger, the 17th Rookie of the Year award. And but they lose to the Cubs in the NLCS in 6 games. So BK, talk about the Cubs, I guess, this time, and we get there again, but we can't get to the World Series.
Well, the Cubs, that the year that the Cubs won in 2017, right?
No, 2016, the Cubs won.
They won in 2016.
Because you never heard the end of it.
Right.
2,000 years, we finally. Yeah, you never heard the end of it.
Right. Yeah, that was that historic year. But you know what? If we were gonna lose to the Cubs, it might as well be the year that they fucking win the championship.
Yeah. B-Mac, how did you feel about losing to the Cubs?
I feel like that was the cosmic shift which turned the world on its head.
It definitely does.
The Cubs winning the World Series was wrong. It was wrong, and pretty much from 2016 until the Dodgers won the World Series, everything went to shit. That's true. The Cubs should not have won the World Series. The Cubs are like Bill Murray. They are the lovable loser. Bill Murray lost the Oscar, and you love him more. If he had won the Oscar, you don't feel the same way about Bill Murray. It's Cubs fan, right? We are one and the same. Everything was thrown off. We had this. I don't want to get into politics, but everything that happened since then. So I just feel like that was awful. And I was at the game. I think it was game 2 or 3, where Lackey started, and we had him on the ropes in the 2nd or 3rd inning, and Adrian Gonzalez got called out at home on a play that I still contend he was safe at. And this is a real bitter, dumb fandom moment of if we had gotten that run, then Lackey would have been knocked out of the game, and we would have won that series because their bullpen would have been tired. But he ended up going 6 innings or 7. They won that game. And in my opinion, that was the whole series because of a bad call.
Yeah, it sucks. But the following year, 2017, Clay Bellinger wins the Rookie of the Year, and now they have their 18th National League Rookie of the Year, most in MLB history. And then they finally get to the World Series. They get there, but they lose to the Astros in 7. Now, this, I know as fans, you got to be pissed off about this because this is the alleged, this is the Houston Astros, the guys that cheated their way into getting the World Series. And I personally, I think they should still be in the National League. That probably wouldn't happen if they were still. Well, maybe you lose the round before the NLCS because that. But BK, I'll start with how did you feel when you lose to so close? Dodgers finally get to the World Series, lose to them in 7, and now fast forward to what you found out later, then Houston was cheating.
Yeah, man. So I remember. So this was the Yu Darvish one. So there was I remember not feeling good about Yu Darvish, because they've they've all he's played for the Rangers, and they've seen him a lot of times, and also they were, and then later we found out that they were cheating, right?
Yeah.
But and I remember that was there was also like Gurriel was the one he did the chink eyes, right? And I remember, I remember like thinking, hey, you can't do that. Like only I can do that, because I'm Korean, and everyone knows Koreans hate Chinese people. Only we can do that. So I remember but that one was hurt because I remember it was such a great series. There was so much
going
drama,
back and forth,
and there was so much back and forth, and there was a genuine hatred, right? That only fueled the flames, right? So it was heartbreaking, and then like once you found out after, it's like, but the thing about baseball, it's like now it's the season, like it's just the era of asterisk. It's like, okay, you'll keep the stats, but we'll just put an asterisk, So,
I mean, you can't. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't take that.
And then it's all a whole can of worms, like the penalty that they received. So this is a whole different thing. Yeah, but was I pissed off? Sure. Do we think we could have won if they didn't do it? Sure, right?
Yeah.
But that's why maybe this one felt so much good to have.
Yeah. Go ahead, B-Mac. Your thoughts on that? The cheaters.
I went to Game 1 of that World Series.
It had to be electric. I know, like, you pumped first time since 88. Yeah. So
it was insane. And Kershaw pitched a gem. He pitched like 7 or 8 innings, 1 run in the World Series.
Yeah.
And we were up 1-0, and then the second game we're winning also into the 9th inning, and Jansen gave up the home run. And that's the beginning of the end for Kenley Jansen right there. That home run is just, if that pitch is a couple centimeters higher, it's a pop-up. And it should have been. It was at the top of the zone, but if it had just been a little bit higher, it's pop-up. That game's over. We win. Marwin Gonzalez does not hit that home run. We win the series. We're up 2-0 in that series, even going to Houston with them shellacking Yu Darvish. But there's this series gives me nightmares still. I mean, I replay the games of this series in my head like a weirdo. Like the shifts, everything going back and forth. There's a lot of things to talk about in this series. First of all, Kershaw's numbers in Houston. If you take Kershaw's numbers in Houston and you take them out of his postseason numbers, his postseason numbers are pretty good.
Yeah.
He gave up all those runs and they kept coming back to take the lead, just crushes his postseason ERA. It's terrible. I mean, that game and a couple of those Cardinals games. I mean, I realize you can't, okay, well, if you want to take the bad ones out, you take the good ones out. I get it.
Yeah.
But in that series, he pitches, I think, 8 innings in game 1. He pitches 5 innings of no run in game 7 on short rest.
Yeah.
But game 4 in Houston, where Houston may or may not have cheated, his ERA is through the roof.
Yeah.
Like, it just drives me insane when everyone's like, Kershaw's terrible in the postseason. He was extremely overused for years.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the depth. So he suffered from that. And you take, that Houston game out, and everything is going to be different. Also, Kenley saves that game. Everything is going to be different because they're going to have a championship in 2017. The other thing is, in game 6, it was on Halloween in LA. And like everywhere you were trick-or-treating, people had TVs on.
TVs on, yeah.
Such an electric, awesome experience to have my daughter was like 2 at the time. And just to be going around with her. And I remember when Jock Peterson hit the home run, which put them, took them into the lead. It just, the whole neighborhood was just going crazy. And it was
That'd be
awesome. It's so funny. It's one of those things like you don't think of LA as having, community
Yeah, especially in sports. Yeah, you always hear the LA stereotypes. Oh, we come early and leave late, and or come. Yeah, it's all the stories. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was really a moment where there was community and people were just so happy and together, and then it was just heartbreaking. It went in Game 7, and then finding out later the probability that they cheated. And no one's ever nailed them for that postseason series, right? But everything else that happened, and then they get almost no penalty for it whatsoever. Fire their manager, and it's friend, and they get like a $5 million penalty. That's it, like insane. And then the Dodgers, Joe Kelly throws at him this year, and he gets more game suspension than any of their players got. For multiple years of cheating, it was just insane. And then sort of the pin in that, right? They didn't take the championship away from what's the commissioner's name again?
Yeah.
I'm forgetting.
I'm forgetting too.
So when he gave the
Manfred.
Yeah, Rob Manfred. When he gave the trophy to the Dodgers this year in the stadium, even with smaller capacity, it was just pure hatred for that man. And there was booing for Rob Manfred. And the Dodgers said, no, you do not get a pass. You should have taken their trophy.
Yeah.
You penalized Joe Kelly and didn't penalize them. Like, this is unacceptable. And Manfred was shaken. Like, he's an old guy. At first, he gave out the MVP to Seager, and then when he gives out the trophy, the championship trophy, he's like, angry, like, we won the championship, and you're going to play for 2017.
That's great.
Bitter fandom. I loved it.
Yeah, it sucks, man. So you lose the World Series 2017. 2018, you go back.
Yeah.
They go back, and then they play the Boston Red Sox. They lose in 5, and they get caught for cheating as well. So, how do you feel? I'll start with B-Mac and then BK. When B-Mac's done, you could share your thoughts. How do you feel again? Like, oh, they're cheating again.
That one's tough. Because like the body of evidence isn't quite as damning on the Red Sox of like, oh, you guys cheated, you should have an Astros. And let me just say this. For 2017, no Dodgers fan is like, we deserve the championship. They just wanted from the Astros. Like, give us a championship by default. No, this should just be a line through 2017 championship. No, don't get to keep that. Like Reggie Bush and the Heisman, right? Like there's no other Heisman winner, right? But he gets his taken away. Anyway, so back to 2018. The Red Sox were better than the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Just
better. Mookie Betts, all those, just all,
It wasn't as painful as 2017. 2017 was horrific. 2018, the Red Sox were better. They did have that one, 17-inning game that the Dodgers won on Muncy's walk-off, which was epic. And that was one of the moments of like, this is what Twitter is for, right? Like, when it's just the people staying up to watch the baseball game.
It's like
energy, and like, a one play will happen and people tweet about it and you'll know what's going on. Like that, like the opening ceremony, the Olympics, like big live events are, I feel like, where Twitter is really fun.
You get the update, the actual.
It's not the same as it was when it started, right? It's just not. But in terms of like big live events, it's super exciting and great, and I have the best time. And I remember that game being just phenomenally fun. And even though the Red Sox were better, that was a moment. It was a moment.
Yeah.
Kershaw got beat fair and square in that Red Sox series, and that was rough to see him get really knocked around by the Red Sox and not be, it wasn't like he was being overused or any of the things that he had fallen prey to previously. So it was like, oh, this really sucks.
Yeah.
Like one thing I remember from that postseason was the series against the Brewers, because that one was a super close one. And I remember that we had to go to Miller Park for Game 7. right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I remember thinking I was kind of worried because the Brewers were playing well, and then luckily we won on the road to a tough team to go to Red Sox. But yeah, that one you could just get a sense that the Red Sox was just better than our team. So it wasn't as painful as the Astros one because like they they were kind of dominating in both pitching and hitting, especially their hitting. Like Mookie Betts, that was when I was like, man, who is this guy?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, such a like 5-tool player. He's great, man.
But before we move on, we should, because this is a big player we haven't mentioned who had a really big moment in that series, and it was the one moment where it looked like the Dodgers could win, and that was Puig.
Oh yeah, Leasio Puig. He had a run. I remember he was setting the league on fire for a little minute.
And in Game 5, so the Dodgers had won Game 3 or whatever, and in Game 5, or no, it was Game 4. So the Dodgers were only down 2-1, and in Game 4, Puig hit a go-ahead home run and just had an epic bat flip.
Is that the one he did the? Right?
Yeah. Epic, right? And it's like, oh, we could tie this thing up. We might actually be on par with these guys. And then our bullpen could not hold the line at all. Like at all. We ended up just getting raked in that game and in Game 5. But man, of all the people who I miss and wish had been on this championship team, this is not a popular opinion, but I love
Puig, I know Puig did, Puig was a little bit of a hothead,
Yeah.
No, but he was like the heart, you know what I mean? Like, and he was like the heart, and so you could always count on him to really just kind of leave his heart out on the field,
Yeah. So we'll fast forward. In the following year, 2019, Cody Bellinger wins an NL MVP, so has a Rookie of the Year award. Now he has an NL MVP award. And then they have the series, the NLDS against Washington, the Nationals, who won the championship that year. And BK, I'll start with you. Talk about, I guess, Cody winning the MVP, and then talk about, I guess, that series and that Game 5 where Kershaw lives up to, oh man, he can't win the big one.
Well, you know what? I remember like Game 1, and we really saw like, okay, Walker Buehler, he is kind of like the new ace, you know. And this is, I think, I think it was like what complete shutout. It was just like delivered a gem of a performance, right? And besides that, of course, it was you lose in the NLDS, expecting to go to the World Series. That was a huge disappointment. That was a kind of like because you always think, okay, maybe we're gonna go to the NLCS and meet the Astros again, or actually go to the World Series.
Revenge,
and that's what our expectations were, right? And especially with the 2 prior disappointments, like I don't think Dodgers fans are expecting any less. So I remember it being a disappointing series, but I mean, so it was tough.
Yeah,
it was a disappointing series. It was tough. The Dodgers, I mean, that year the Rockies were very good. We were tied.
Oh yeah, yep.
52 games, so we had to play the extra playoff to play-in game.
Yeah, the play-in getting a 1-game plan. Yeah.
Which was, I mean, the Rockies I think ended up in the wild card, but you played in and then you were the 1 seed. But man, the Nationals had a great run and they put it together.
Oh yeah.
they had that kind of playoff magic where like the Giants really perfected that of like just get one.
When they had that little kind of dynasty. Yeah.
You don't need the entire team to be, top to bottom great. You just have like elite players play at their absolute best at the absolute right time. And there's
Scherzer, Strasburg,
but there was one super cool thing about that season. I was taking my daughters to games more. By that point, I had 2 daughters.
Yeah, they're a little bit older, so they grabbed the concept of this is a thing.
And we saw Bellinger hit a home run off the foul pole. So he hits
nice.
That's sick.
In front of us, and it hits the foul pole in front of us, and goes down right. So that fixed in my daughter's memory of like, that's the guy who hit the ball off the pole.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Yeah, and then Kershaw, that game 5 was depressing. Like Kershaw comes, like, and then Rendon hits that home run, and then you're like, oh my God, again.
But I mean, that to me felt like an instance of overuse. Like he got through the previous inning, and then they brought him back out, and it's like, what are you doing? Like that. This is. I know that it's game 5 and you're in trouble, but like,
and it's like that's how they did it, like a grand slam. A grand slam, and like, oh
yeah,
man,
it's like you guys are cursed. It was really bad. So fast forward to 2020 now. I mean, I'll actually, since you guys are more LA guys, I know B-Mac, you're a big Laker fan too, and 2020 has just been not the greatest, the worst year ever. We'll get to late January. As a Laker fan, Kobe passes. That was one of the worst days ever. How did you take that news when you first heard about it?
It was interesting. I had left my phone at home, and I took my dog for a walk, and I came back, and my phone was just all these people were texting me like, "Is it true?" I had worked for TMZ for years, so they thought like I would know.
Yeah.
And to me, that was one of the ones where it was like, it's brutal in the moment, but then it also just plays out and sucks over time.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of this season before the shutdown, after the shutdown, where like you're watching and then you just
because we have nothing else to do to take our minds off of things like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, there was no sports. Like everything canceled in March, so it was like you go back and watch old Kobe clips, and you're like, God, man, this sucks.
Yeah, especially for someone, he had his ups and downs in life, but he really worked hard to redeem himself as a human.
He really did. Besides after the rape, I remember like him just like dedicating his life to not being a better player, but a better father, you never heard him getting in trouble. He was so focused. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. As a Knicks fan, Kobe was Kobe. Like, he wasn't really a threat, but it's like, I respected Kobe. I wasn't like the hugest fan, but I respected him. And then after a while, when he died, I was like, damn, man, what a great career and what a great, person, you know what I'm saying, to redeem himself. That's the greatest redemption story.
Yeah.
So, BK, how did you feel when, I know you're in New York now, and I don't know how big a Laker fan you are because we never really talk, NBA, but.
So Kobe, when he started playing basketball, I was in second grade. So from second grade until now, like I was kind of following his life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you kind of grow up as he's growing up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So those championship runs, and also all of the redemption stories, and also one thing, love it or hate Kobe, like everyone respected him. One thing that you always hear about him is his work ethic, about how first one to the gym, last one, and he was also still already one of the best, right? So I don't know if you see my
you see you got the Kobe Dodger jersey,
I got
with the patch on it, with the patch on it,
So but the one thing, when I heard the news, it was almost surreal, right? You don't want to believe it. And then so I was watching a bunch of like Kobe videos, all of his iconic moments. You watch those things, and one clip that I came across was Tracy McGrady interview, and he was in the league with Kobe when they were both young, right? Straight out of high school. Yep. So, they spoke a lot. And one conversation Tracy McGrady remembers about him was Kobe said, you know what? I was put on this earth, right, to play basketball. What I'm going to do is, my dream is to play basketball, beat all of Jordan's records, and then die. This is what I was meant to do. And there's nothing else, And of course, this is before he had kids and a family and everything like that. But it was almost like, God put him on this planet, to, like show his gift, and then it's like, okay, you did your job. Now you're going to come back to heaven. You know, it was kind of like that. You know, like I'm not going to let you fuck up your legacy because you already did what my plan was. It was kind of like that, and he almost kind of called it, you know, to Tracy McGrady that day.
Wow.
You know, and then so yeah, man. So it's it hurt a lot, and sometimes even now you still don't want to kind of believe it, right?
Yeah, and now like you know the NBA season starts and the Lakers win the championship, and
he was just starting his life.
Yeah,
you know,
he just started his life. So the Lakers just come off. So LA is like title town now. You guys win the championship, even though probably some people will be like, oh, that's the bubble championship. This is the championship. It might have a, you know, like they didn't really play. They took some time off. So who knows? Even though I did favor the Lakers, I think the Lakers, I wouldn't say we're the favorites early. Like maybe in this, they probably were, because I mean you had AD too. But I know the Clippers were, you know, up there and, you know, were favored and stuff like that. But B-Mac, I'll talk about when the Lakers won. And even though it's weird that you can't do anything to celebrate, like, because, you know, they're in Orlando, the city, talk about the atmosphere of the city and how and just like a dead win for Kobe and just like how when the Lakers won.
Well, I want to start off by saying, hey, BK, we understand you're young. We get it, okay? You're in
I know.
Okay, you can stop rubbing it in.
I know.
We're basically the same age. I'm like months away apart from Kobe. So you're younger than me. Congratulations, okay? Yeah. Stop it. Stop. But in terms of the bubble season and the Lakers winning, I mean, it was a very fun team to watch once the bubble started back up. I was like I was emotionally distant from the Lakers even at the beginning of the season because of Kobe, like even how hard. I feel like it being in a bubble sucks for the celebration factor. Also feel like it robbed us of the series that we all wanted. Which was the Lakers versus the Clippers, because I don't think the Clippers lose that series to the Nuggets if they have in-person fans. The Nuggets played phenomenally well, but the energy that you feed off of in Staples, and the Clippers have great fans. I mean, everyone here and isn't happy about being here is a Clippers fan. So there's big Clippers fans, energy, and we think that the Clippers hang on and win that series against the Nuggets, and then we get to see the Lakers versus the Clippers in Staples.
Oh yeah, it'd been 7 games. Yeah, that would have been nothing you thought you'd never see.
Yeah, I think that really would have been phenomenal. So I do think we lost that because of the bubble.
Yeah.
And in terms of go ahead.
Yeah, I honestly think like when Miami made it, they were hot. You know what I'm saying? And Jimmy Butler was on fire. I honestly think if it was like, you know, if it wasn't the situation they were in, I don't think Miami goes that far, in my opinion. They just got hot at the right time. And they had so many like guys that came out of there, Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson. Like these guys are like, you know, just shooting. And Jimmy Butler's like, who got a bad rep from, you know, bounced around a lot after like getting a bad rep in Minnesota. He's like, it's like he just sets Miami on fire. And Jimmy Butler he's like kind of like accelerated himself to a different level. Like now, this guy's like kind of a superstar. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think they get there. But the Lakers, like I said, they handled business. It like reality sunk in. They're not beating LeBron and AD.
I feel like this championship is like, well, we did our job. And I feel like it would feel less like that if you had real fans in attendance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I will say that plenty of people went down to Staples and went crazy. It was.
And deservingly so. I'm glad. Yeah, of course. Yeah. You know,
not me. I got a wife and kids and stuff, and I ain't trying to be out.
Yeah, you're a family man. Yeah, so you can't be out in these streets.
Time out from the streets, y'all.
Yeah.
Normally my home.
Yeah.
Get it. But yeah. It was great, and I feel like what they're doing now in the off season is really.
Oh my God! Now they become the evil empire now inside everybody.
I love that they didn't stay pat. Like we won this season. Maybe it was a weird set of circumstances.
Where
and we're going forward to demolish in the future, and I love it.
And I don't think nobody like the war now, like the Clay injury with Golden State. Yeah, it set them like the Lakers are the clear-cut favorite to win again, and by far, in my opinion. Now, BK, talk about I guess when the Lakers won.
Well, the thing is, like, the entire thing that we love about playoffs, especially like playoffs basketball, is the oh shit, anyone can take this, right? That kind of anticipation, and that like, oh, they may be able, and there was none of that kind of mystique, and none of that kind of like, it was like you said, Brian Meg. It's like, yeah, we did their jobs, but it wasn't even like, it was lesser than that. It was almost like it felt like a gimme. You know what I mean? So even like yeah, sure, LA won like the championship, but I think what we really love about it is kind of like that struggle and that drama, and then winning in that exceptional fashion, right? And it didn't have much of that, even like watching it was like kind of not.
Yeah, it was weird. Everything was weird. Yeah. But it was better than nothing. I mean, at least we had sports to take our mind off of a very, very weird year for everybody, for everything that was going on. It was just, it's crazy. So, we'll get to 2020 Dodgers. Now, a rough, playoff. Playoff is weird. You get what? You're playing in 3 different stadiums, 3 different ballparks, and it's all over. It's weird, but it's 60-game season, and the Dodgers, they handle their business. Best record in the league, right? They had the best record in the league, I assume. Yeah, regular season, and then
but in the beginning, I didn't like how they tried to fuck us again. You know what I mean? This is like, oh yeah, you have the best record. Okay, you still have to do the same shit that everyone else does.
Yeah. Because they switched the formats, and now like every team goes in. It's kind of like the NBA, where every team, at least almost the majority of the good teams get in. So you had the wild card series. You sweep the Brewers. Then you sweep the Padres in the Divisional Series 3-0. And then the Atlanta series. That was a tough series because they were down 3-1. And you battled back. I think BK, I think we were watching Game 7 at Gooch's house, right? When we had the show. Yeah. So I remember you were happy. I guess talk about the whole series in general. I'll start with BK, and then B-Mac you could pin off after BK. So
well, I also even want to kind of talk about the Padres series, because that was a fun series.
Yeah, you swept them. Yeah. It should be.
Also, I went to school in San Diego. I went to UC San Diego. So occasionally we'll go to the Padres games, and like we're like Dodgers are always like Padres like older brother. You know what I mean? It's like, kind of just like, yeah, you can try, but we're just gonna every year, and they always try so hard. They always try so hard. No, but I remember this series, they were like, oh wow, and I think they're in a good kind of going in the right direction, right? And there was a couple scares here and there, but they're always gonna be like the younger brother, like the technique where you put the hand to their head and they just go like that. Yeah.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting
yourself. But yes, the Braves were. I was kind of scared about the Braves.
Yeah.
And when they went down 3-1, that was really scary. Right. I mean, it kind of felt like, oh, is this gonna, because I think the Braves were kind of X factor. Like Freeman.
Yeah, I didn't know they would be that good. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, the Atlanta Braves are a classy franchise. They find a way. They get guys in there. And they know.
But where I think the year that the postseason that Mookie Betts was having, not just with the bats, but some of those defensive plays that he fucking just made, like the robbing of the Freeman home run, and even just like throughout that series, I think that was what actually was just kind of like that carried them over. That was like a huge, those type of plays totally shift the momentum of the the thing, where you rob someone, and that's what really kind of got my heart pumping, And of course, like in the future, like his bat, but even when he wasn't struggling with the bat a little bit, dude, those X factor plays, man, that's why you pay him the big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, totally. I mean, I think that Atlanta series was wild. And there's no question that like the defensive plays, and I think that's kind of where the analytics of the Dodgers, and like you said, the Royals, actually, the defense is a huge part of like the analytics of the team that can really go over the top, right? Now, Royals team that beat the Mets, they just had an insane they singles. They never turned into a double. Things you think are going to be a single turn into outs, and that over the course of a series just plays huge. But the Atlanta series was like a real test of metal for Dodgers fans, because I remember we were down 2-1 and we were losing game 3. And I remember I'm in a bunch of text chains about the Dodgers.
I
text everybody, we can lose tonight and still win this series. Y'all got to relax. We're a better team. They're playing really well right now. But if you look at the way the pitchers line up for the rest of the series, we have Walker coming up. We have Urias fresh.
Right.
We have Kershaw. And, whatever you want to say about him, he's going to be all right as a starter. I really felt that way. I was most concerned about Finley, honestly, and our chances to come back and take that series. And the other thing I want to say about that Atlanta series is Ronald Acuna. Too much with the celebrating. Okay, I get it. The league is exciting. It's vibrant. People run and jump and people fool and go crazy and flip the bats. And in general, I'm okay with it. The problem with Acuna is he's doing it when someone else breaks the play. You don't run out of the dugout and jump 15 feet in the air and do the splits. That's not your victory. You do not. I'm sick of that guy. Even at the very last at bats that the Braves had, the Dodgers were only up by a couple of runs, and the Braves had a guy on base. You saw Acuna almost perched atop the dugout, ready to come run and do his theatrics. It's you're not hitting. You didn't hit that well during this series. You had a couple of good hits early in the series, but overall, you played below the level that you should have played at, and people are going to remember you because you're the front of every highlight reel, jumping so high.
He's like Kurt Rambis back in the Lakers days. He's the guy celebrating more than everybody.
Showing valor, bro. That is valor to take.
Wow. So that was a
phenomenal series. They were so good, and it was that was so fun.
And you can always look back, and you came back, and then you get to the World Series in Globe Life Park. All the games were in Globe Life Park, if I could be mistaken, in Texas, right? So another tough. The Tampa Bay Rays, they make it, and it was a tough one, and but you guys pull it out. BK, I'll start with you because I know Brian had a whole celebration video. So BK. How did you what was your reaction when we finally did it? We won the World Series. Seager's the MVP, by the way. How did you feel that day? Where were you? How was that?
So I just finished doing a show, right? I just finished doing a show and I was watching in my thing, but I was like, you know what? I want to watch it with Dodgers fans. So I went over to St. Mark's. Because they have a taqueria over there, and they go. It's for all the kind of the
LA fans. Yeah, New York has a sports bar for every city almost. Yeah.
Right. So I went over there, but of course, due to the COVID stuff, they can't just have everybody. So they had it very restricted. So I went to McSorley's down the street, and they were playing the game, and I caught the last last 3 innings. I was watching, and the thing about it is this championship is kind of my generation championship, right? Especially because
that's it. There goes BK with that.
I had to add it in there one more time. But just the way they did it, those last pitches, just you guys, it's just the way they did it, so clean. Without a doubt, but it was a huge mistake. I know we were talking about the analytics, and I was watching a video about the Tampa Bay, the changing.
The manager, when he did take him.
That he didn't really make any mistakes up till that point. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I thought Blake Snell, they should have kept him in. I think they should have kept him in. And I think, he's your ace. You trust him to get that last out.
Yeah.
I think one more batter. That's all I think. I think he only deserved one more batter because Betts was completely confused against Blake Snell. Betts was in trouble. And when they pulled him, you could see Betts' eyes light up, right? And then
it's like, ooh.
Yeah. And Betts didn't have to face a lefty then. They brought in the righty because the next 3 hitters in the Dodgers lineup are all lefties. So we thought, okay, well, we'll just get the righty in now, or whatever. This is so for the matchup. So Betts benefited from that immensely. So I think it was a mistake, but not on the order of everyone else thinking it was a mistake. I think just one more hitter, and it's the right time to pull him. But
another huge moment was that failed squeeze.
Yeah. Yep.
But go ahead, Brian. You go.
No. The failed squeeze was a huge moment for sure. They try to steal home against Kershaw because he has that, super slow lifting of his hand. We can steal home, and and there it was. I'm sure they had tape on that. I'm sure they thought this is something we will only do against Kershaw because his one so slow. And we can catch him off guard. I'm sure that was not like an improvised thing. I'm sure that they discussed that, and that was an option. And they saw, okay, it's hard for us to score as many runs as them, but if we get this right now, that's one where we can feel it. And and credit to Muncy right there, right? Because Muncy is the guy who saw it, and he didn't yell "throw home." He yelled "step off." Right? So because if Kershaw just throws home, it's a balk, right? He has to step off the rubber to throw home. So you yell step off.
A rule you rarely see anymore, yeah.
Yeah, you yell step off at him, you're communicating the exactly right information to him. So it was a huge team moment for the Dodgers and for people like, oh, that redeemed Kershaw in the playoffs. Yeah, a little bit. But also just as a team, especially when they had lost that other game by just playing hot potato, the game that they lost where the ball went under the wickets in the outfield and then they're throwing it past the catcher and the Rays just running around the bases like there's nobody to stop them because there isn't. The Dodgers can't control the baseball. That was like a psychological, when they stopped that steal at home, it was like, okay, the dumb shit is over. We are not going to let you ticky-tack the World Series away from us.
Yeah.
But also, and then I also wanted to bring this up because this was also a crucial moment, that base running by Mookie Betts, home. I don't think it was a squeeze. I don't think so, but
no, that base, they had the infield in.
It was a sacrifice, or not a sacrifice. It was just a ground field choice that Betts. But you know what? If it's not Betts, only Betts can make that. Yeah, and beat that throw.
The only guy who has the speed to beat that. Maybe Bellinger, but Betts is much more likely to take advantage of the secondary lead.
It was super close too.
Super close. Super. Yeah. You saw that for the very first game that the Betts played as a Dodger. I mean, you saw. I remember his first hit. It should have been a single down the line in left field, and he stretched it into a double. Right. A single, but Bellinger hit a single down the left field line, and Betts made it to third. Bellinger get to second, and
that started this entire thing.
That was the whole thing. You could feel the team feed off that energy of we don't have to just play nice. We can really put the screws to other teams.
Yeah. And Mookie basically came in and changed the culture of the clubhouse and everything.
At that play, when Mookie, if you're not Mookie, if you're just regular player, you don't even attempt it.
No,
you know what I mean. You don't even attempt it.
So, talk about when the Dodgers won. You saw the last pitch. You're like, holy, we did it. We finally did it.
You know what's so funny? So I was celebrating. I was like the one. There was a few people there. I was the only Dodger fan over there. Immediately, the bartender goes, bubble season, eh?
I know, and unfortunately, that's the rep that's going to happen. It's like, oh yeah, that's the bubble
but the
season.
thing is, like, you know what? But whoever wins it, and there's someone going to be saying that. Whoever wins
it. Yeah, it's going to be, somebody's going to throw that in your face. But
and also, I was like, fuck it, we're champions.
Yeah.
First of all, if you want to put an asterisk next to a championship, it goes next to the Astros in 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah. The asterisk.
Yeah. And second of all, I mean, the World Series, I would say, left a little bit to be desired as a series, but it was just because it came off that series against Atlanta. And if you keep that in mind, and how good the Padres were, and the Dodgers were still able to rake over the Padres, I mean, it doesn't really matter what other people say, because as a Dodgers fan, you saw those series. You saw, I mean, they weren't playing like, oh, we don't care, it's a bubble season. Like, they wanted to destroy the Dodgers and take down the dynasty, so they never won the series and end it. And so to get over the hump was a huge thing. And my dad and my mom were at the house to watch the game. My dad was like, "Oh
wow, that's great." Because I mean, you can't. I know if the World Series was in LA, you would definitely be there, front and center, and and have a moment. Even though you do have a moment, but it's not the same.
But it was funny because my dad is such he's so bitter and he's so hurt that before when I texted him, we're up 3-1 or whatever, and he's like, are you coming over tonight? And he was like, back and forth, and I saw the dots on the text, like he wasn't ready to reply, and he's like, "Wow,
the dots."
We'll take a chance on maybe we can win it tonight.
Yeah.
Like when I saw them win it, like all I thought of like all the players that I kind of thought like deserved it, like one of the
Kershaw,
players that
definitely,
really, but like the ones that are not on the team, like on the Ethier.
All those years, the Kemps and the Ethiers and the Russell Martins, you look back and
even Hyunjin Ryu, to a lesser degree, but still, like all the other like Dodgers that they kind of paid their dues and wasn't able to.
And B-Mac, I saw the video where you had your daughters pour champagne over you, and that had to be a good moment. You made the best moment. It was a great. I was like, I would do the same thing with my kid if one of my teams won, and it's like, it was just a great moment for you, and I was happy for you, man. I was like, I know you're a diehard, so it's like, it was like,
I noticed, because of the COVID regulations, they can't do any of the locker rooms.
You can't have a parade or anything like that.
We should do our own, and so we got the sparkling cider out. My daughters are 3 and 5, so they're just tiny little kids, and they're running around, spraying it at each other. It was
it was a great moment. It was a great moment. So I'm happy for you guys. You guys won the bubble season, the COVID. LA COVID title town.
I just want to say this. If you're gonna put us that way, I just want to say right now, as far as sports are concerned, the East Coast is irrelevant. The East Coast does not matter.
That's true.
The NFC East sucks.
We all. I mean, especially the teams I root for.
I don't know. It's because the fans don't care enough on the East Coast.
No, we care. No, we care. We care. I mean, New Yorkers, we're psychos. We are, especially the Knicks. Let me tell you something. You know how many Knicks fans? I mean, you've been to enough games at the Staples Center. When the Knicks come in, you see Knicks fans take over because we're everywhere. You know what I'm saying? But we've not really.
They don't take over Staples
Center. They don't take over, but there's a lot of them. There's a good. I would almost guarantee you, when a visiting team comes up, they're probably more Knicks fans. They're pretty well. No matter how they suck,
for sure.
Yeah, we really come in, and I've been to a bunch of when the Knicks go in,
I go for a Clippers game. You can't take over.
That year when I did the improv with you, and thanks again for doing that for me. The Lakers and the Clippers, the Knicks were in town to play. They played them back to back, and going to both of them and just seeing I mean, that's not the first time because my wife's friend works for the Lakers, so we get lucky if we come in, which is rare. But when we come in, she'll hook us up with some great seats, and we had great. I was in the catering, the room where Phil Jackson was in there, and so many celebs and so many people. I was like, wow, it was the best experience I could have. I know I wouldn't got that with that hookup, but it was one of the best experiences. Staples Center is a great great place and the vibe there. But yeah, Knicks fans, we care. We care. We just suck. It's really bad, bro.
Throw back the trash that I hear on Barstool and all these other networks.
Oh yeah, they're terrible people. Terrible people.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's the reason that these are struggling so hard. Okay.
Yeah.
You're too focused on your family or whatever.
Yeah. We're haters. We're a bunch of haters. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys for doing this and going down the Dodgers memories. BK, anything you want to plug before we go?
No, man, this was so much fun, man. Go Dodgers, LA, baby.
Cool. B-Mac, anything you want to plug before we go, my brother?
Yeah, man, if you want to follow me on social, I'm at Brian F. McDaniel on all the platforms. And I just want to say that, it wasn't all glory for Dodgers fans. I was at the game when Fernando Tatis Sr.
Oh, yeah.
2 grand slams in 1 inning against the Dodgers.
I remember that, yep.
Yeah, you go through your ups and downs, but, man, it's been good to have a good year in terms of sports at least. Yeah,
great. All right, guys. Hopefully shit goes back to normal and we can get together and watch something. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, guys. You guys, yeah.
Look forward to coming to New York, man. I can't. It's been way too long.
I know, bro. Yeah, you got to come back, man. Me and Adam were talking shit about you, but. All right, guys. All right. Be good, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy, guys.
All right. All right, guys, that was Brian McDaniel and Brian Kim. Follow them on their socials as you see on the ticker. Follow us at Root for Laundry. Like, share, and subscribe. Next week, we'll have another guest and another team. My name is Johnny McDonald. Thank you again. Appreciate it. Have a good one.